Yes, housemates, I'm recording this video after Arsenal's 2-0 loss at home to Newcastle in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semifinal. It's our first loss at home this season in all competitions. And, I can't remember watching a more disheartening performance in a really long time. You know, I said it in my fan cam on AFTV, but I genuinely was like counting down the seconds. I was so desperate for the final whistle to come. And it felt to me like Arteta and the players were also sort of on the same wave. Um, Before I reel into everyone and I just kind of go off, I'll start this off by saying that it's important for us to keep in mind how fatigued this team is. Um, we've had a number of untimely injuries in key positions, and some of them happening at the same time, which then has left the players who have remained fit playing many more minutes than they should be playing and should be required to play. So part of what we're seeing out there is a team that is exhausted and really running on empty. And so I have a certain level of sympathy there, and I recognize that there's a lot more being put on their shoulders than there should be. Now, with that being said, um, it was such a painful watch, man. It really was. We had so many shots. It said we missed six big chances. I don't really buy that. I have to watch the highlights again, I guess. But, obviously the Martinelli one-on-one, you really would hope that he puts that away. He should do better there. I don't think it's quite as easy a chance as some people make it out to be, but, you know, in a semifinal against a team like Newcastle, who aren't necessarily, they're a really good team, man. They're the most informed team in the Prem, right? They've now won, before this game, they'd won six in a row, five in the Prem and one, I think, in the Carabao Cup. They'd only conceded 2 goals total. They're in excellent form. Um, and, you know, they were missing their second best player in Bruno Guimaraes, and yet they still just showed us up in our own backyard. Um, you know, the Martinelli chance to me is it's definitely not the most damning one, right? But you look at that obviously while it's still 0-0 and say, yeah, if he scores that goal, then things change, right? We can go on and get a second or a third. But obviously that didn't happen. Um, and I don't think we created that many clear chances. We really didn't. I would think there was the Timber header at the corner that he timed wrong and sent over the bar. He should have done better with. And then there were a couple of those, scrambles in the box where there were a couple shots blocked and it was a bit of a frenzy. But so maybe those counted for a couple of the big chances as well. But, in terms of creating, intricate football and passages of play where we pick Newcastle apart, we really didn't look like we were going to open them up our way. I think a lot of the shots we took were just hopeful and aimless and really just wishful thinking and hoping that something would fall our way, and it just didn't. We played so many crosses into the box, and this is against the back line with Botman and Dan Burn, two giants. Um, this review of the game is going to be a bit scattered because it's just pure frustration and anger and disappointment. And then we saw Jorginho coming on and Jesus coming on. The Jesus sub made sense because Trossard, I think, was awful. Um, and again, that might be a bit emotional. On FOTMob, he had a good rating, but I don't know how that's possible. But then Jesus is on, Jorginho's on. I guess you want to control the game a little bit more because Newcastle was bringing it to us. I was a little bit surprised they didn't make it three, right? I didn't even talk about Newcastle's goal yet. Yeah, it's a set piece, and Declan Rice loses his man, Isak. It's just poor defending all around. Martin Odegaard gets shoved, but, that happens on every set piece. It just so happened that it was the goal scorer who lost him. Oh, sorry, it was Jacob Murphy that Declan Rice lost. Jacob Murphy took that touch and it fell to Isak, and he finished it, crossbar down. It's a great finish from one of the best strikers in the world, if not the best striker in the world right now. you know? So yeah, a set piece conceded by Set Piece FC undid us. Um, and and then the second goal early on in the second half, you that's the last thing you want is to go down 2-0 early on in the second half. But again, Isak takes a shot from a very awkward angle, and it's the kind of shot that no one on our team would take, I don't think. And that just goes to show as well, like the lack of individuality, the lack of bravery, boldness to do something out of the blue, just unpredictable. It forces a save out of Raya. Decent save. I think he did about everything he could with it. But it falls into the path of Gordon. I think Urian Timber does maybe fall asleep a little bit, doesn't deal with it or protect the ball as well as he can. And Gordon taps it home and he does the Thierry Henry finish with the corner flag. Real disrespectful settings, but can't really fault him for it. It's just great shithousery. But yeah, so second half, we bring on Jorginho and Jesus for Partey and Trossard. Jorginho was just, I don't know, I can't really fault him so much, but he tried like 3 or 4 scooped passes that were just, at least a couple of them were just bizarre. Like, these aren't working, man. Stop. And then we had Jesus through the middle, and Kai Havertz was out wide playing right wing. I saw Kai Havertz doing step overs at right wing. I was just like, what am I watching, man? The amount of times we crossed the ball into the box to no avail, just hopeless, unimaginative, and the body language was concerning too, man, from Arteta, from the players. We just looked so dejected, deflated. We were, no one wanted to take accountability. It looked like they were kind of all looking at one another, hoping someone would pick up the slack and, bring the game to Newcastle. I think Miles Lewis Skelly for me was the best player, our best player, arguably. He was so brave on the ball and he looked determined to try and make something happen or just keep possession and move the ball along. And Declan Rice for me is the only other player that really, stood tall and wanted to get something going. He ran with the ball a few times and he was showing for the ball. Saliba and Gabriel looked a little bit out of sorts themselves, and just all around, man. I mean, Martinelli had a few decent moments himself, but even him, in the first half as well, he could have squared it early on, and he chose to take a few extra touches. It just kind of sums up where Martinelli's been at for a while now. But yeah, man, I don't care about the XG. We generated almost 4 XG, and Newcastle had less than 1. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We lost 2-0. There's a big fat 0 next to our badge, and we don't have any. I don't think we have any chance. I mean, obviously you have some chance, but I'd say it's like 1% chance, 5% chance of winning by 3 goals. Or sorry, by winning by a goal. Sorry, we need to score 3 goals. We need to win by 3 goals. I don't think there's any chance of that happening. And the timing is also so mad. We have City 3 days before that. So, this felt like the trophy that we had the best chance of winning, and it's already basically over. And it's so disheartening. And I'm doubts are starting to creep in with Arteta. And I initially mentioned that a couple months ago maybe, but they were a lot less so. Now I'm really starting to wonder how much we have left in us and how much he has left in him with this project. Again, I said at the beginning of the video, fatigue is a very real factor, and we're stretched so thin right now. And obviously we're without our best player in Bukayo Saka, but even then, man, it's so obvious that we desperately need to strengthen our attack and find someone that can inspire us and uplift us and bring something different to the table. And Arteta's just so picky. He wants the most perfect player to bring in to do that. And when there are time limits to these projects, and you can't wait around forever. You can't for the perfect attacking player. You gotta bring in reinforcements, man. Trossard, I think he's so bang average. I really do. Off the bench, he can give us a moment of magic, score a goal. He's a great finisher, but when he's starting, he's just somewhat non-existent. I think Jesus has such a poor mentality. There was that one foul in the second half where the clock was ticking down, and he looked at a player. I think it was Joe Ellington. I forget who it was, and he just like very clearly shoved him in the back when he went up for a header. And it was such an obvious foul. And if you're our veteran player who's won 4 Premier Leagues and you're doing that when we're desperate to get a goal back and there's only 10 whatsoever, 10 whatever minutes left, it's just ridiculous. We bring Zinchenko on. He hasn't played in what, a month, maybe more, and then within 5 minutes he gets a yellow card for a terrible challenge on Joe Ellington. Um, yeah, man. And those were the only 3 subs we made were Jesus, Jorginho, and Zinchenko. 3 players who were let go by winning clubs because they didn't rate them anymore or they didn't need them. They saw them as surplus. That's who we brought on to try to come back in a Carabao Cup semifinal against a Newcastle team that just looks better than us. I know they're below us in the Premier League standings. So, yeah, we're a better team than Newcastle. I don't want to get too emotional, but come on their day, they just look so much more exciting and bold and hungry than us. They really do. And this was without Bruno and Shar, 2 of their best players, man. I'm going to stop here because I am ranting and I'm pretty mad. I haven't felt this way in a long time. So Arteta's got to find a way to stop the bleeding because it's really bad right now. And I don't know anymore about him. I really don't, man. And I love him as a person. But, you know, I was talking to my friend Chris, and, at one point we really thought he had that dog in him, that he was like, he had that killer edge to him. But it's starting to look more and more like he doesn't, you know? And it translates to the team. It permeates into the mentality of the team, and I wonder if he's just milked every last drop, and we're just burnt out now and too rigid, too robotic. You know, I think he got scared by Man City catching him 2 years ago and us falling short 2 seasons in a row. I don't know anymore, man. I don't. So hopefully I'll be back tomorrow with a more level-headed video, but there's not really any positives to take away from this. So I'll talk to you all soon, and I hope that, you find some solace or find a way to disconnect, but it's pretty hard to do. So yeah, I'll talk to you soon, housemates. Come on, you Gunners. Peace.